I wanted to make this video about how much you should spend on a heavy bag because I have a lot of students who want to get a heavy bag, and a lot of times against my recommendations, they'll get something cheap that they find off of maybe Facebook Marketplace, or they just go pick up at like a sports center. And what inevitably happens is they're usually telling me about this awesome, great deal that they got on the price, but then they end up not really using it. And a lot of times they'll come back to me after a few months and they'll try and sell it to me. Hey, I'm not really using this. Would you be interested in buying it? And I never am, and I can show you why. Now, obviously, if you don't have the money for a really nice bag, then you have to work with what you have. But a lot of times the impression that I get isn't that people don't have the money, it's that they don't value the quality difference. And so if you can swing the extra money, I want to kind of push you towards getting a more quality bag because the experience is very different. You're probably going to get more longevity out of a nicer, more expensive bag. But the real value I want to push is the experience that you have. And a lot of times people quit because the bag they get just sort of sucks. If you think of it in a cost per workout ratio, then a bag that you've had for years and that you work out regularly on, maybe you come out to only spending like $1 per workout because you've done hundreds and hundreds of workouts on, versus a bag that costs half as much, but then you only use it for a couple months and then get tired of it, get bored with it, get frustrated with it, stop using it. Well, now maybe you just spent essentially $5 or $10 per workout on that bag. So I've lined up the 3 bags that we use here at our gym, and I want to walk you through what I like about them, why I would recommend getting these bags, and then I'm also going to cut to some other shots of me working out with what people tend to fall back on. So this first one is our 4-foot bag. Now this bag I checked right before making this video, and the current price for this bag on RevGear is $279. So what's great about this bag is that it swings, and so it forces you to use your footwork. So you can move in, move out. It has a little bit more of that realism of what you might experience with a real moving person. Unfortunately, what I don't like about it is that because it moves so much, a lot of times any of your longer combos, it's a little bit harder to throw those. Also, at our gym, we have some people that can't kick very high. And this one, I mean, most of our people can kick this high, but I have seen people get bags that are even shorter, or they hang a little bit higher up, and so they can't reach high enough with their kicks. So that's something to be mindful of. Also, this is like a little side thing, but I sort of wish that this wasn't so close to the thing we have it connected to, because when you punch it, it has a very steep kind of angle there. I wish it kind of more did this a little bit rather than just like that, I guess. With that said, it's great for working interceptions, intercepting kicks and punches, so that's a good thing. The other bag, and this one's my favorite, is the 6-foot bag. Now, I checked online, you're looking at about $400. I like that this bag goes all the way to the floor because you can practice your kicks to the leg, you can practice your punches. It gives you everything. It also, the floor sort of holds it in place so you can work some longer combinations on. And then the third bag is the WaveMaster bag. Now, if you can do a hanging bag, I would recommend it. But if you can't, and most of our members, they just find it easier to get one of these WaveMasters. And these are a great bag, a great alternative. They're almost as good as the hanging bags, in my opinion. But you want to make sure you get the right ones. This is one of those ones where people try and save a few bucks and they get one of the crappier models. You want to get the double XL, and they also have one called the XXL. Both of them are just fine. But you're looking at spending right around $450 for one of these. You can see how big it is. Like it goes up to my head, which if I'm in my stance, and I'm 5 foot, I was 5'11", now I'm 5'10". I'm getting old. A lot of people don't know. I'm 42 years old this month, actually. Anyway, if I'm in my fighting stance here, that's plenty high for me right there. That's going over my head right there. Okay, so the only thing I don't like is that it's so big around that when I throw my kicks, I feel like I'm landing a little bit earlier than I would actually land on my opponent. So it's almost like it stops your kick a little bit too early. So you don't get the same pop that you do against like one of these bags that's a lot leaner. But it's not enough to make a big difference. Now you can see what the base looks like on the blue bag right behind it. This pad and the base are almost in line with each other. So that way you're not having the experience of having the bag come back and like land on your toe. So I figure I'll just like hit each bag for a little bit. Maybe that gives you some information about what to expect. I might have to find a different camera angle for you guys. All right, so here I am on the WaveMaster. So that's another thing. I want you to see, like, this holds up pretty well. It's not just flying all over the place. I'll see if I can knock it over just so you can see how hard it is to knock over. We'll go with a side kick. All right, let's do it again. There we go. But I had to get really close to the bag, and I feel like I kind of pushed it more than I just kicked it. Now it's the long bag's turn to catch some hands. So that's the long bag. All right, now the 4-foot swinging bag. Hopefully that gave you some good information for selecting the right bag for you. So this is a bob bag. Now the bob bag I recommend as more of like a secondary bag. It's a good bag, good for targeting, but I don't like it as a primary first bag. Now this one I can't really demo on because I don't have any water in it, so it'll just fall over. But the biggest issue is just how bendable this head is. And so you just don't get to throw combos the same way you would on normal heavy bag. And we've had this at the gym before, and people will raise it up and then just do the combos on the body. So they just treat the body as just a normal heavy bag, which can work, but it kind of defeats the purpose of what makes this bag unique. So if instead of doing that, I just recommend get a regular bag. Although I guess if you don't mind doing that and you can kick high enough to land kicks, then I guess it could be a bit of a 2-in-1 bag for that purpose. 1-inch punch. So here's a standard WaveMaster, and notice how big the base is. So when you're hitting it, you have to be careful that the base doesn't pop up and then land on your foot. Now, one of my neighbors has one of these, so they let me come over and beat up on it for a little bit. So while I'm hitting it, I wanted to share a funny story about the last bag, the bob bag. So one of our members actually bought what's called the Bob Bully. It's like a little kid version, and it's a little bit cheaper, and so they got that one. And then for all the same reasons I told you why I don't like the cheaper bags, they ended up wanting to get rid of it, and I didn't want to buy it, so they took it to their break room at work, and eventually the boss told them to take it home because people were complaining about people in the break room beating up on what looks like a little kid. So it is kind of funny that they make a bag that basically looks like you're beating up on a little kid. Now here I start throwing round kicks on the bag. Now it could just be the wear and tear of the bag, but I could feel the plastic and the nuts and bolts behind the pad against my shin, which kind of sucked. So the fire station let me come down and beat up on one of their bags, which they have on a stand here. Now this one's actually not as bad as some of the ones I've hit before, but notice how low the bag hangs. So when I'm throwing punches at the face, it's really more about chest height. Also, the legs on the stand can get in the way, so you can't really move around. However, this stand is pretty good. I can move around pretty freely on this one. Anyway, I want to tell you another funny story while we watch this. One of my roommates when I was younger had one of these, and it had been laying in his garage sideways, so the sand at the bottom of the bag, to help weigh it down, had moved into the side of the bag. So one side of the bag was like hitting a brick wall. And then, as a little joke, I moved the tape on the bag and then dared him to kick the bag as hard as he could. And, well, let's just say he still hasn't quite forgiven me for that one. I just came up with a fun idea while I was doing my workout. If you buy one of the bags that I recommend and you email me a picture of the receipt, I will give you one of my heavy bag training programs for free. I'll include the email to send the receipt to in the description below. So shoot me an email with a picture of your receipt. It doesn't have to be the exact same brand, but it has to be the same quality. Like, spend good money on a bag and you've got yourself one of my 21-day heavy bag training programs for free. Can't beat that, can you? Awesome, guys. Bye.